Welcome to Boys of Yoga. So my name is Adam Hustler. This is McGee, this is Charlie. So today we're exploring kind of the outer hip muscles a little bit. Maybe some muscles, as the title goes, that you didn't even know you had. So starting off just lying down here. Just take the next few minutes, not to relax, but just to check in with your body. Just scanning through your feet, your legs, your glutes, scanning through your back, scanning through your arms, your shoulders. Let your lips move apart, let your face melt down. And just begin to engage with your Ujjayi breath. So as always, starting to breathe in and out through the nose, allowing a little restriction to come to the back of the throat. So nothing too major at this stage. Just begin to cultivate a style of breathing that, fingers crossed, you can keep for the whole of class. Maybe you can't. It probably takes about 10 years before you actually can. But that's the direction of travel in which we're working. So staying here a little bit longer if you need today. You can press a pause button if you want. Then once you're ready, start to squeeze your right knee into the chest nice and tight. So really start to draw it in. If you notice any pinching between the head of the femur and the acetabular, you can let the knee come a little bit more to the right hand side. Really take your hands around your shins, squeeze in a little bit tighter if you can. Notice your toes are probably just chilling out. Open your toes wide, not just on the right foot, but on the left foot as well. Maybe push your heels slightly forward and try and begin to wrap that left leg slightly into the right. I'm going to give you a few specific instructions today like that. Finding that inner rotation as if the legs are scissoring in towards each other. Taking just one more full breath here, squeezing a little bit tighter. And then extend your right leg up to the sky. Push your heel to the ceiling, flare your toes open. Taking hold of the belly of the thigh, taking hold of the big toe if you're super bendy. Wherever you want, but let the leg be straight. Imagine the leg is made of one single muscle and you want equal engagement through that whole muscle. Again, start to wrap that left leg in slightly here. On the inhale, find space, or at least the idea of space. And on the exhale, use it. Drawing a little bit deeper here. Flare your toes further. And then now, again, something quite specific. Taking your left hand to the outside of your right leg, wherever you want it to be. Take your right thumb into your right hip crease and then begin to move that leg about 2 inches to the left, just 2 inches. So we're taking two counter motions now. That foot is moving slightly over, but the glute is moving back down to the floor. So hopefully you're feeling something fairly intense going on. Are you feeling something? Yeah, Charlie's good. Feeling something intense in that right hip. Taking one more moment here. Maybe the foot comes over a tiny bit more. Easing back to center. Release that leg out. Release it down to the floor. Let's start to draw the left knee into the chest. Again, straight away, find that slight anti-clockwise rotation of that thigh. Flare your toes open. Elbows in nice and tight. And again, keep that breath. Your breath is probably trying to go walkies. Bring it back. Every time your mind wanders, every time that internal narrative starts to play inside your head, rein it back in. Keeping both shoulders to the floor if you can, and almost imagine your belly button is drawing itself into the floor. Taking a final breath here as you squeeze that a little bit deeper. Again, coming slightly to the left if you need. And then begin to kick that leg up to the sky. Flare your toes open. Hold it wherever you want to go. And make sure, again, that right foot is doing something. That leg is wrapping in. So what I might say to you is if you can't hold the leg, if you have any injuries, if you're tighter on one side, it's okay to have your hands on the floor, as long as the leg is straight and the glutes are pushing down, the lower back is pushing down. One more full breath. And then take the right hand to the outside of the left leg, left thumb into the left hip, push the left glute down as you bring that right leg across. So again, it's a very subtle movement. We're not in any way doing a spinal twist here. You're targeting some very specific muscles. Holding there for 2 more full breaths. Easing a little bit deeper if you can. Again, the idea behind a yoga practice isn't for you to get deep. It's for you to find an intense feeling, and that is entirely subjective. Releasing out, hug that knee into the chest, ease it out now. We're going to take a slightly unusual pose to begin to activate through the core. Taking an eagle bind, wrapping your right leg over the left. If that doesn't work for you, if you can't take the full bind, no problem. Just have the legs slightly wrapping. Start to draw the knees in slightly. Then take your hands here to the tops of the thighs. 2 things are going to happen. You're going to squeeze your knees into the chest, and at the same time, push your legs away from you. So 2 counter forces, let's begin. So it might look like you're doing absolutely nothing, but there should be a hell of a lot going on. Your face will probably start to contort, and if it does, bring it back to your normal breath. Flare your toes open a little bit more. Push your heel forward slightly further for 3. Keep pushing, keep reaching for 2. And 1, relax, switching sides. Other leg on top. Exactly the same again. Start to draw the knees in, but using your hands, push the legs away. Flare your toes open. Every posture is as active as you can keep it. Holding there for 3. Holding there for 2. And 1. Release, relax, hug your knees to the chest, rock yourself backwards and forwards. You can be fancy or not, come to a downward dog, however you want to get there. Ease to downward dog now. Jump, step, float, roll, gambol. Pausing back in downward dog. Have a little walk out of your legs, have a little freestyle, join the party. Don't limit yourself to just shyly bending the knees. Actually get some motion going. Get some inspiration from these 2 beautiful guys. Whatever works for you. And then maybe 5 more seconds just to even yourself out, and then come back to a downward dog position. We're not going to check in with downward dog just yet. Come forward to a high plank. As you exhale, lower your knees down, keep your back more or less straight. Lower your chest beyond the fingertips first, then let your pubic area come down. Inhaling low cobra, pull the shoulders back away from the ears. Squeeze the elbows in a little bit tighter. Push through the hands, glutes to the heels, easing yourself back to a downward dog. Taking that again. Inhaling, come forward to a high plank. Hold high plank this time. Let your back get nice and wide here. Let your shoulder blades move apart. Turn your biceps forward slightly. Turn your inner elbows slightly forward. Take your knees to the floor. Lower your chest beyond the fingertips again. Inhaling, low cobra. Pull your shoulders back. Kneecaps lift, nice. Push through the hands, bum to the heels. Ease back to a downward dog. Check in with downward dog now. Let's bend the knees first. As you bend your knees, tilt your bum up to the sky a little bit more. Focus on the flatness of this area. Then begin to straighten the legs slightly. For some of you, it's probably actually worth keeping the knees slightly bent. For Charlie, that works perfectly. Bend the elbows slightly now. As you bend your elbows, again, wrap your armpits in, turn your biceps forward. This will feel pretty unpleasant. And then re-straighten the arms. Don't start to take your head too deep. Keep the shoulder blades opening nice and wide. This isn't in any way about how deep you can go. Bend the knees, lower the legs, look forward, step, jump, float, fly to the top of the mat. Inhaling, halfway lift, straighten the back fully, pull the shoulders back. Straighten the legs, exhaling, folding down. Bend your knees, slow motion, inhaling, Utkatasana. Fierce pose, arms reaching high. Maybe let your tailbone stick out by about 1 inch. So you're not excessively sticking your bum out, just slightly. Again, let the armpits turn in. Draw the shoulders down. So the back is getting broader, almost like a cobra's hood opening out. Inhaling fully. Now we start to move a little bit more. As you exhale, take your hands down to the floor. Inhaling, halfway lift, straight back, straight legs. Exhaling, hands down. Step your right leg back. Inhaling into a crescent lunge, arms reaching high. A little bit of a different crescent lunge today. Don't take any kind of pelvic tilt. Bring the belly away from the leg. Bring the torso higher. Start to zip in the lower belly. Close the front ribs as well. As you inhale, prepare. Take your hands to the heart. As you exhale, take your right elbow to float above the left knee. Don't let it actually touch. So you're being forced here to engage your core. You're being forced to engage the muscles around the spine to find that rotation. Hold for 2. And then on one hand to the floor, step back to a high plank. Take your vinyasa. Exhaling down, use the breath. Inhaling, elongate. Exhaling back to a downward dog. So 2 options, chaturanga 90 degrees, upward dog, or body to the floor, low cobra. If you're new to vinyasas, have a look at my other video. Really specific motion. You do it so much you want it to be right. Ease your left leg to the sky nice and high. So normally I would say keep the hips neutral anyway. Today I insist on keeping your hips neutral. As you keep the hips neutral, you're actually really stretching and strengthening the outer right hip muscles here. Send the left leg to the top of the mat. Inhaling, crescent lunge again, arms reaching high. And as you inhale, straighten your left leg slightly. Keep the abdominal wall squeezing in. As you exhale, bend your left knee even deeper here. Both hands to the floor. Step the right leg up as if coming to standing splits. And then release the right foot back down as you inhale, Utkatasana. Exhaling, take your hands down to the floor. Inhaling half lift, straight back, straight legs. Exhaling hands down, step your left leg back. Inhaling crescent lunge. The same style of crescent lunge here. So your belly is moving away from the leg. The lower abdominals drawing in, the rib cage closing. Keeping the back, not here, but the back nice and wide. Sinking a little bit deeper if you can. Straighten your back leg a little bit more. Hands to the heart, inhale. Exhaling, tip of the elbow floats above the tip of the knee. One straight line from the Achilles tendon all the way to the occipital ridge of the skull. Straighten that back leg a little bit more. One more full breath. Hands down, step back, take a vinyasa. Keeping it nice and controlled. If you're taking chaturanga, 90 degrees, then pushing up and forward. Easing yourself back to a downward dog. Checking back into a downward dog briefly, not trying to slam the head to the floor. Take your right leg up to the sky. And again, hips are neutral. Back leg straightens further. Send that right leg to the top of the mat. Inhaling. Same style of crescent lunge. Arms reaching high. As you inhale, straighten your front leg a touch. Just a touch. As you exhale, bend it again. Stay there. Hands to the floor, step the left leg high as if come into standing splits. Take a moment, hips stay neutral even here. Wrap that left leg in. And then feet together, inhaling crescent lunge. Arms reaching high. Sinking a little bit deeper with the bum. Exhaling, hands to the floor. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhaling, hands down, knees bend, step, jump, float to the back of the mat. Moving through your vinyasa with control. Opening yourself up. Easing yourself back here, pausing back in downward dog. If you've got a super sticky mat like this life form, make sure it doesn't roll itself up. Tailbone tilting. Take your right leg up to the sky, nice and high. Legs straight, hips neutral. Right leg eases to the top of the mat. Inhaling crescent lunge, arms reaching high, but now straighten both legs immediately. Trying to keep the back more or less straight. Inhale. As you exhale, fold down. Hands could even come to the thigh. They might come to the shin, they might come to the floor, but keep the back straight, keep the legs straight. Try not to lean on the knee itself. If you really want to pop your knee out, go for it, but I have no responsibility for that. I'm telling you not to do it. Keep your back nice and long. Draw your stomach in a little bit more. Both legs straight if possible, to really ensure you can engage with the gastrocnemius, the big old calf muscle there. Bend your right knee, place the left hand to the center of the mat. Open right arm to the sky, lift your left foot, come into revolved half moon. Lifting that leg a little bit higher if you can. If you're feeling particularly perky, maybe start to lift that left hand off the floor. Or maybe not, whatever works for you. But the worst thing that can happen is you fall over. Holding for one more full breath. Then take your hands down. Briefly come to standing splits. Again, take that leg nice and high. Keep that wrapping of those external hip muscles. And then with control, bend your right knee first. Bend the left knee. Slowly lower your left shin down to the floor. Begin to straighten your right leg out, moving into half Hanumanasana. Lift your toes. As you inhale, flare your chest. As you exhale, begin to walk your fingertips forward now. Keep the spine nice and long. There's a general rule for my class. Don't look at your groin. If you're looking at a groin, or your groin, any groin, in fact, chances are you're curving your spine a little bit too much. Try and lengthen the spine a little bit more. Eyes to the toes, toes to the eyes, however wonderful your groin may be. 2 more full breaths, pulling further. 1 more full breath. Then use your hands, start to slide yourself forward. Come into a very small lunge here. Tips of the fingers on the floor. Keep the top of the back foot down. Option, lift the back knee off the floor. That's option 1. Option 2, float the hands off the floor, lift the torso. Option 3, arms reaching high, come into a subtle pelvic tilt. Keeping that back leg straight, keeping that back leg pushing up to the sky. If you're still having your hands on the floor, let your chest scoop slightly forward still. Holding there for 2. And on 1, hands down, flick back up to standing split. So we kind of love standing splits today. Something quite unusual now, maybe. Bend your right knee. Take the left knee to the back of the right knee. Then start to extend your left leg out to the right hand side. Keep lifting that left leg off the floor here. Keep bending that right knee further. Hold for 3. Stay breathing. Don't start to hold your breath. Holding for 2. And on one, leg back up to the sky, release it to the back of the mat, step the right leg back, take a vinyasa. Elbows staying nice and tight as you move through it. There is never any need to be in a rush. The biggest priority of this practice is that you're self-regulating your body, your mind, your breath. It isn't a cardio workout. This isn't legs, bums and tums. Pausing back in a downward dog. Tailbone jacks to the sky nice and high here. With control, left leg eases to the sky. Send that left leg to the top of the mat, inhaling crescent lunge, the second side. Arms reaching nice and high here. Straighten the front leg. Draw your stomach in, inhaling fully to find space, especially in the hip crease. As you exhale, folding yourself forward. Spine lovely and long here. Hands again to wherever you want them to be. To the shins, to the thighs, but focus on getting the spine long. You have all day to hunch over phones, computers. Let this be a chance to lengthen your spine. One more full breath as you ease out a little bit deeper. Then bend your left knee. Place your right hand down to the floor. Lift your right leg. Start to open left arm to the sky if you want. So come into that revolved half moon. Lifting the leg a little bit higher. Maybe trying to float that right hand off the floor one day. Holding there for 2. And on 1, hands down. Standing splits briefly. Then again, bend the left knee first, bend the right knee, release the right shin to the back of the mat, straightening that left leg as you go, coming into that variation of half Hanumanasana. Eyes to the toes, toes to the eyes. So I don't really like to call this posture splits. It's kind of named after a little monkey god. That bit's irrelevant. But what's important about him is he was kind of the god of almost releasing himself to others, giving himself to others. And that's what you're doing here. You're not trying to necessarily split your legs apart. You're just trying to release and give yourself to gravity. One more full breath, easing a little bit deeper. Then with control, slide your chest forward again. Top of that back foot pushes to the floor, kneecap lifts, maybe lifting the hands, maybe come into that kind of lunging crescent variation. If you notice any kind of real tightness, or you notice anything is about to pop in a posture, my advice would be don't persist with it and ease off slightly. One more full breath. Hands down, ease that leg up to the sky, straight back into standing splits. Leg lifting high. Keeping the hips neutral here. Bending the left knee, take the right knee to the back of the left knee, extend that right leg out to the side for this juicy little position. Bend that left knee a little bit further. Finding that wrapping through the outer right hip for 2. Nice, and 1. Leg back to the sky, release the foot to the back of the mat slowly. Taking both hands to the floor, taking a vinyasa, exhaling down. Move through with control, inhaling, lift, elongate. Exhaling back to a downward dog, pause and downward dog. Bend your knees, load your legs, step, jump, float to the top of the mat. Inhaling, half lift, straight back, straight legs, exhaling, fold down. Stay there. Hands fairly comfortably on the floor or your fingertips. Walk your feet about shoulder distance apart now. If you need a block, you can. You can bend the knees as well as much as you need. Begin to lift your right leg directly to the right hand side, not behind you. And it might only move an inch. It might move much higher, whatever works for you. But try not to take it back. Rein it back in a little bit. Holding there for 3. So these muscles are generally used to stop you falling over when you walk. They're not used to actually taking a good range of motion. And release, ease down. Guess what? Other side. Lifting that left leg up. Nice and high. But again, it doesn't really matter how high it is. What matters is how much you're feeling it. Holding there for 3. Lifting high still for 2. And 1, releasing back down slowly. Bend the knees, Utkatasana, arms reaching high. Come to the tiptoes in Utkatasana. With a smile on your face, to the count of 6, we're going to lower bum to the heels. So make sure you're smiling here, Charlie. Lowering down for 6. Nice. For 5. Pausing at 4. So a little bit about how I came to yoga. Okay, we'll leave that. Holding for 3. Keep smiling, Charlie. Did you stop smiling? Nice. Holding for 2. Your bum should be pretty close to the heels now, Charlie. Holding for 1. Lower your bum to the floor and slowly use your arms as a counterbalance. Come to a little seated position. Come to sit nice and tall. We're coming into a posture that you might call fire log, you might call double pigeon. Call it whatever you want, but we're coming into it. Left shin parallel to the top of the mat. Take the outside edge of your right foot to the top of your left knee. That's specific. Your body wants to do this. Don't let it. Some of you might be here. If you're quite tight in the hips, absolutely fine. If you can, that right knee moves down towards the left ankle. Maybe stopping here, maybe coming all the way down. But your shins are still stacked on top of each other. Fingertips to the floor, inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale and come forward. Just for 5 full breaths. Keep the spine nice and long, keep pulling the chest. Ideally stay on the fingertips, enabling the back to stay nice and wide here. Turning the biceps forward still. Fingertips giving you the chance to find millimetre by millimetre of depth. Come back up slowly. Switching sides, final posture for now. Lower the other leg down, other leg on top. And it's important here to remember that there will be asymmetry in the body. Maybe you're here on this side, maybe you're deeper. Find your position, engage your feet. Inhaling, exhaling, use your fingertips to walk yourself forward, keeping your spine lovely and long here. Putting your chest forward, not down. Remember the groin rule. Easing deeper and deeper, spine lovely and long. 2 more full breaths. And then ease yourself back out slowly. Take your legs out in front of you, so your feet are at the top of the mat, more or less. Take the arms out in front of you, close your eyes. Use the arms as a counterbalance. As slowly as you want or as you can, lower yourself to shavasana. Maybe bending the knees slightly just to protect your spine. Don't turn it into an ab exercise though, just lower yourself down slowly. You can stay in shavasana as long as you want, and I'd recommend actually doing anything else you need to close off your practice. Any twists, any happy babies you might want to take, any inversions. But that's me for now. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today, for joining Boys of Yoga. My name's Adam Hustler. Namaste.